Hello, listeners and viewers. This is InvoTalks, and I am Zopajan Aman, your host and Assistant Business Development Manager at InvoZone. So, today's episode is going to be about distributed ledger technology and IoT, especially the intersection of these two technologies. So, the goal of today's episode is to explore all about distributed ledger technology and IoT and its potential use in all the industries and so for this, I have Mariana de la Roche with me, who is a senior regulatory expert at IOTA, and IOTA is an organization that supports education and adoption of distributed ledger technology. In fact, IOTA has built first ever distributed ledger for the Internet of Everything, and I have all the questions ready to discover about it and. My guest, Mariana, here today is a very experienced individual in distributed ledger technology, and she's also associated with INTBA, International Association for Trusted Blockchain Applications. So, without wasting her precious time, let's get started. Hello, Mariana. How are you?
Hi. All good, Thank you. Thank you
And
for the
it's our
invitation. Happy to be
pleasure to
here.
have you. So, Mariana, what did you do before you get started working with IOTA?
Well, my background is in law. I'm a law by training, and I have a post-degree studies in human rights and humanitarian law, and then a master's in public administration. And I was working for different organizations in the development sector, especially in child protection, justice, and human rights back in Colombia. And so I knew a lot about like how the development sector operates, and that's how I became interested in technology, because I wanted to see, especially in blockchain, I wanted to see how these new tools and these new systems could accelerate the impact that organizations in the development sector were doing. And that's how I started with IOTA Foundation. At the time, they were looking for a social impact project manager. That's how I started with them back in 2018. And since then, I have been with the IOTA Foundation working mostly on the deliverable of projects that will be implemented with the European Commission funds and with different governments, the Canadian government and the Japanese government, for example. And since last year, I'm focusing more because of my background in law, also in what is happening with the regulatory landscape, especially here in Europe.
Okay, great. So, before I move to discuss more about IOTA, please tell for our audience what is ledger technology and also highlight its benefits in blockchain for using it in blockchain.
Okay, so well, basically you have like different types of networks. Let's do it. I don't know how technical your target audience is, so I'm gonna try to put it like as easy as possible, also because I'm not a technical person.
Yeah, audience is technical, but please be very much easy and so just
Okay.
yeah.
So you have like different like networks, right? You have like centralized networks such as Google or Meta or even yours, which collects and stores information in one place. And here's the risk. No? Like if something happens to decentralized party, then everything that is connected and everything and everyone that is connected to it will get impacted. An example of this is what just happened in the US, and everyone is aware of that. Then you have the centralized network, which is basically the internet, where you have like these massive transatlantic cables under the sea, and they have like connection points in different parts. For example, here in Germany, is in Frankfurt, and then they have mini lines that are connected to the rest of the country. For example, what happened here is that like if too many people want to use the same line, then it gets congested and it's difficult to use, and it takes too much time. Also, if something happened to one of these primary lines, then everyone that is connected to that one gets impacted. And then finally, you have distributed networks, and this is the D on DLT, right? So these they're distributed in the sense that you don't have a particular or like a centralized place, but rather the information is storage among all of the participants in the network. The T I won't explain it because technology, like, well, but like the other interesting part is the ledger. So on the DLT part. So when it comes to a ledger, just imagine Like the easy way to imagine this is like an accounting book. So you have information about how much Mariana has and how much Mariana wants to send to you, and how much then Mariana will have in their account after she sends. And then the distributed database is similar to these accounting books, but is recorded because of the distribution itself, is recording in all the computers that participate in the network. So those records are cryptographically protecting the predecessors because they cannot be manipulated. So since the accounting is decentralized, everyone in the network receives a copy and also can independently check whether the cryptographicness correctness of the data or the sensor, for example, the signatures, if this is correct, and proof is that's like the immutability of the data. And also since many parties can participate in the system, there's no longer this need for the central office that takes care of the distribution and the valuation or the review if the data has been manipulated or not. So that's the basics.
It's a lot. lot.
But no one says it's easy topic.
Yeah, but it's amazing. So please also tell us about what is distributed ledger technology in IoT and what is its role and how you guys are working on it.
Okay, so yeah, well, like more and more we have like devices that are surrounding us and are not only collecting but are also analyzing the data, right? So DLT actually enhance the machine economy while providing, just imagine, like the underlying infrastructure for these devices to connect in a trustless environment, so they can exchange the information that they are producing. So it basically fixes the weakness and vulnerabilities of the IoT, where the information is always collected and centralized as well, by providing this underlying infrastructure. But also because of the peer-to-peer nature, it can address some of the shortcomings that you have, like in terms of the clients and the servers and the models with the clouds of IoT solutions. And on top of that, in combination with DLT, it generates solutions that are more secure for device management. It also saves costs, and it reduces the connectivity bottlenecks that I've been referring before. For me, the most important aspect, though, is the of this combination is with the ownership of the data, because it brings back the power of the data to the person of the device that is generating the data. And for me, this is like a key point, especially when you have conversations about data rights and how we prevent exploitation of our own data by big players, which is the situation and the situation that we have in the past so far.
Okay, got it. So, best and the most excited question is, what is IOTA? I mean, what you guys are doing in IOTA, and what is IOTA famous for, and what make you different and stand out from the rest of the people in this industry?
Okay, so well, I think that like in some way, like everything is different about IOTA in comparison to others in a good way. So we have the Tangle, which is our next generation of distributed ledger technologies. And it's better because it doesn't have blocks, it doesn't have a chain, so to speak, and it doesn't have miners, and it doesn't have the traditional fees. So basically, imagine that the other blockchain, you have, as the word says, like a block. And in each block, you have like these accounting books that I was mentioning before. So you have a list of transactions of that tells you who has how much and who has what and how much you want to send and how much is remaining. And all of these transactions need to be validated. So basically, with a chain of it's a chain of blocks that contains a limited number of transactions, and each miner validates new transactions and package them into new blocks and extracts some fee, which takes time and energy. And then you also have a proof of stake, which is basically it gained a lot of attention like in the past years, but like more with like the Ethereum merge, and we know like how that is the impact to the energy, which is really good for the industry itself and the environment. But then you have another type of and it's what we have, and it's the DAG. So that is direct acyclic graph, and basically is a direct acyclic graph of individual interlinked transactions. So you don't have the block with like multiple transactions, but you have individual transactions that validate and attach the previous one without transaction fees. So I cannot really explain how it works, the Tangle, because you will need our research team for that. But what I could tell you is that it works not only more efficient in terms of the time that takes to validate one transaction, but also in terms of energy. And it is not a small amount in comparison to other protocols. We have a really interesting research on the energy consumption. That IOTA needs to actually validate one of their nodes, and it's really interesting. I can forward that to you later on, and you can see the comparison between the energy consumption either by IOTA, by Cardano, by Ethereum, Polkadot, and some others.
What industries you think are most affected by blockchain and distributed ledger technology?
Interesting one, the most affected. I'm not sure because I have seen use cases in almost every industry at this point.
Yes.
I must say that like when it comes to actually DNT, I think that like all industries are going to be affected because one of the use cases that I see the most is supply chain, which impacts almost every industry everywhere. So if you think about it, so we have cases working in sustainable mining, as I mentioned, and the origin of raw material production, like DGIT, which is separated with the EU. That is implemented by one of our community members. We have also one of our community members has a startup called IOTA Origins, which is doing actually the verification of origin of minerals. And this is like the start of the supply chain, right? And then you have actually projects working on the supply chain, such as TLIP, which is digitalizing traditional paper trade process via the blockchain to make more efficient and helping actually African countries to become more competitive in the international market. And then you have also integrated solutions in the automotive industry, for example, with digital twins and the digital product passports. And talking about the digital product passport, you have EPSI coming in, which is like a massive focus on the DPP use cases. And on top of that, you have projects such as digital MRB or carbon flow outside of the ecosystem that are doing monitoring of CO2 emissions, carbon credits, and carbon compensations among the life cycle of products. So to actually create like compensation schemes for organizations doing carbon compensation, actually. So there's a lot of going on, but like if you tackle the supply chains, that you impact like mostly absolutely everything you have. You have also projects working on energy efficient. We have like CD exchange in the north of Europe working on smart cities as well, and energy monitoring and energy efficient, and that supports all the digitalization plan of the EU right now. So there are really interesting use cases around. For me, the most exciting one is those that I see that are actually enhancing solutions for a sustainable future, or that, for example, has democracy and human rights, and in particular, self-sovereign identity. I think that is one of the biggest things that we have right now in terms of inclusion and bringing actually creating financial inclusion. And the potential of the centralized governance system with the DAOs that are going to be really interesting to look at in terms of direct democracy, for example. So there's a lot of going on. So I don't think that it's just one industry, the one that gets impacted the most.
Okay.
All of them.
So do you face any challenges in adopting these technologies?
Yeah, of course, there's a lot of challenges. One is in terms of education, because we need to expand from the blockchain bubble, so actually like help others to understand what is this about. And we have a really cool initiative that we are part right now with IOTA and INADPA and the BC100 Plus, which is an initiative that has the backup of the UN General Assembly, and it's basically to do that. So how we can bridge blockchain projects with organizations in the development sector, and it's not like reinventing problems or reinventing the wheel, but it's actually how blockchain solutions can help those projects with the organizations with the problems that they already have in place to actually address those problems more efficient and generate more impact in the normal operations of their. And the other big challenge is at the regulatory level, which has been one of my focus, because you need to create an environment where technology can thrive and innovators can thrive. And to do that is not only by providing a really good technology and tools for them to build, which is like the core of the focus of our engineering and research team, but you also need to talk to regulators. So the regulation that comes brings one, regulatory clarity, so people can build and know that they're not going to be blocked in 2-3 years because a new regulation comes and block them. Or also a regulation that protects consumers at the same time that actually enables certain freedom for people to innovate in the solution. So that's like a lot of work in paying attention what is going on, what are the negotiations, how we get involved. For example, with the IOTA organizing like some roundtables where community members can sit with policymakers directly from the European Commission and European Parliament to talk about what is that they're doing. So the policymaker understand what is the technology actually, what is the potential of this technology, and in which direction regulation should be. And at the same time, the community member can talk to them to clarify certain doubts that they have about data protection, GDPR, or ownership, like all of those, all of these kind of topics.
Okay. So the as you can see in the previous year, past 6 months and maybe 8 months, there's an current inflation, and maybe we can say in a more appropriate way, current downfall of a blockchain. Does it impacted the IoT and distributed ledger technology as well?
Well, if there is a issue with the economy, everyone gets impacted somehow. I've tried to focus always on the positive, and I think that the fact that there is a bear market, it means that like only those projects that are serious will remain, because that's something that we have seen also. Like I believe like since 2018 in the industry. And I have seen a lot of projects that come out of nowhere and they take resources and they leave. Like they don't produce any benefit. And those projects actually create like bad reputation from the sector as a whole. And when you see like these like downfalls in the economy, what you see is that like those projects that are already established, that they have a serious and real technology in the back, that they have a strong community and a strong focus, those are the projects that remain and survive over and over and over all this crisis. And those are the projects that actually we are going to see in a couple of years, like out there as well, generating impact. And I'm happy to say that IOTA already survived multiple ones, and we are still there. And it's because we have a serious foundation, we have a serious team. Now we are more focused than ever before in delivering actually like the technology to the community and like prioritizing what it needs to prioritize. So I think that like, yeah, it sucks to have like right now with the market, but I try to focus on the positive and see what will come out of it at the end, which I think is going to be a more strong industry with strong players. That's why.
Yeah, I mean the downfall of blockchain obviously impacted it because it's an inflation in economy and it impacted almost every industry as well. So hopefully things will get better in the next quarter. And just one question clicked my mind. Mariana, since you are a law person, I mean you're a lawyer, and you are in this technical world in IT industry, in software industry, how did you cope up with the things? I mean, is it difficult for you to? I mean, because you know a lot about blockchain and have a ledger technology and supply chain. So how did you overcome all these things?
It's like any other topic. If you like it, you just study. Like I will say, like when I started, I was like really like confused. Like my first minute, I was just like, what am I doing? What are they talking about? Like it took me a lot of time to catch up at the beginning, but a lot of reading, a lot of dedication, and actually like my colleagues were the best because they were like super patient and tried to explain me. Back then, we have an initiative called Eli 5, Explain Me a Figures 5, where I would like, we would put like, I don't know, the head of a smart contract to explain smart contracts to people that doesn't have technical background, what a smart contract is, how the smart contracts in IOTA works. And this really helps, not only for me, but like for the rest of the team, because we have a communication team, of course, not technical. We have the legal team, the regulatory team, HR, a lot of people. And if you don't do this kind of like integration activities, they never will feel part of the foundation. So the foundation has been really, really nice in allowing us to have like these spaces at work where we can actually like talk to each other and explain what we do. They actually motivate us to just like have like meetings from time to time and score and in Zoom or like in Slack, because like we are fully decentralized as well. And remote, but it's really good because you get to know your colleagues and what they're doing, and this is really important because also one of the most one of the most important barrier that I see for adoption is that like adoption won't happen in bubbles. Like you can grow this big if you're inside this bubble. So we need to just like talk to the mainstream. Like we need to talk to everyone so they're able to understand what are the capabilities of blockchain, how they can use it, how they can integrate it, how if it's a good idea to integrate it for a particular case. I'm not saying that this is the magic panacea that solves absolutely all problems. So how they can identify where to integrate it, how to use it, and all of those things. And this is the regular people, the normal people, those like me that are not technical. And we need to be able to talk to them and explain them in a way that they can understand. Because if we keep talking about really technical things, what we do is like create more barriers and people don't want to approach the technology because we will prevent them because it will guys to take is too difficult. I don't want to. So how we actually like do this easy. And I think the way to do it is also like using social impact use cases, because those topics are topics that people can relate in the day-to-day. If you talk about financial inclusion, if you talk about poverty, if you talk about hunger, like these are kind of topics that people understand and relate. And if you can prove that there's a solution within blockchain that can solve those issues, then they are going to be interested.
Wow, this is very helpful for me as well, since I am also a non-technical person in the when I am more into a business side. So it's amazing. Wow. And just one last question from my side, last but not least, that if someone wants consultation from IOTA, then how they can contact you through your website, or do you have any portal, or how they can contact you?
I would say it depends of which consultation. I think Discord. Discord is the best way, because if you go to Discord, we have like really amazing community managers, and they read everything. I don't know how they do, but they do. And they simply will point you in the best direction. Like if you want to work in particular use case, probably they know the community members that are already working on that, so you don't need to reinvent the wheel, but connect with them. Duplicate efforts is like the worst thing ever.
Okay.
Like someone is already doing that, you just better connect, talk to them. If you have a better idea, maybe you can collaborate. If you want to talk about like partnerships, then you should connect with this person. So Discord is the best way.
Thank you so much, Mariana, for your time. It was amazing talking to you. It was amazing discussing about IOTA, about the distributed ledger technology. I got to know a lot about distributed ledger technology in IoT from you, and especially about IOTA, what IOTA is doing, what is basically IOTA, what you guys are doing. And it's amazing. You guys are doing an amazing job. And thank you so much for giving us your precious time. It was lovely talking to you.
Yeah, thank you. Likewise. Have a nice day.